Hello guys, this is Sondile coming to you from Q's Beyond Fashion. As you guys know, I love sewing and making your clothes. In today's video, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to make this lovely dress that I am wearing. It has got a gathered peplum around the shoulders, as you can see, and it has got also a gathered peplum at the bottom right above the knees. Let me turn around. This is the dress that I'm going to show you guys how to make. I hope that you have seen the dress. I've called it a little peplum dress. I am absolutely in love with it and I cannot wait to show you guys how to make it. Watch and learn. Watch and learn. We're going to make use of the basic sleeve, the basic bodice, the front, and also the back. For purposes of today's video, I have traced the basic sleeve and I have also traced the basic bodice. I traced the back bodice as it is. I have also traced the front bodice. When tracing the front bodice, there are a few changes that I made along the waistline of the basic bodice. This is the previous basic bodice. The waistline was straight. Remember, the basic bodice along the side, we said there is this dart which is 1 inch in length. After sewing this dart, we said that the front is going to be shorter by 1 inch. I added back the 1 inch which will be taken off by the dart, and then I slanted the waistline like that. If you have a look at this traced front bodice, this is what I'm talking about. The waistline was straight like this, and then I slanted it, as you can see, using the red marker, and this is our new waistline. After sewing in the side dart like this, the waistline is going to go back to its original place. We are going to go down from the neck by 2 inches, like so. And then next, on the shoulder line, we are going to start from the shoulder point, and we are going to come in by 1 inch along the shoulder line, like so. Next, we are going to join these 2 points to come up with the new neckline. We'll use a curved ruler to join the 2 points. Next, we are going to add a seam allowance of 0.5 inches along the new neckline that we have just drawn, like so. 0.5 of an inch. And then again, we join these 2 points using a curved ruler. Next, we are going to cut off the top part, as I am doing now. This will be our neckline. On the back basic bodice, we are also going to measure down 2 inches, and we are also going to measure 1 inch on the shoulder point. We are also going to add a seam allowance of 0.5 inches and also add another seam allowance along the neckline of 0.5 inches. Next, join the points using a curved ruler. Next, we cut off the extra part using a pair of scissors. This is the new front and this is the new back that we are going to use for cutting of our fabric. We are going to make our dress out of an African fabric that is called shweshwe fabric. We are going to lay down our fabric on fold like this, and then put on top the front basic bodice like this. Make sure that the center front is along the folded edge of the fabric. Next, secure the pattern paper using some pins. Use a chalk to draw around the basic bodice. Remember, we had to move this waistline and slant it by 1 inch downwards. This will be our new waistline. From the waist down to the bottom, we are going to go down by 18 inches. Make a straight line at the bottom, like so. Next, we will join that part to the hips using a straight line like this. And then we are going to come in at the bottom by 1.5 inches, the bottom, to make sure that it does take the shape of a mermaid when we are done. And then we join the 1.5 to the hips, like so. Next, we're going to copy all the dots from the pattern onto the fabric. I usually use pins like this. And on the side, I'm just going to extend the lines like so. Next, we remove the pins. Next, we are going to lift the pattern slightly like so to reveal the first pin, and then we make a mark. Continue the process of lifting the pattern to reveal the pins, and we make marks where the pins were. We make a mark. We also make another mark. Continue to lift the pattern paper to make another mark like so. Next, we use a ruler, join all the marks to make the dots. Make sure you join to the correct point. And then this point will make the side dot like this. These are the dots, they've been transferred onto the fabric. Next, we get a pair of scissors and just cut off the dress like so. When cutting around a dot, please make sure that you don't go straight down. Make a triangular shape which is around 1 centimeter in length, and then come back like so. It will help you to make sure that you do not run out of fabric when you sewing the dot. Now we are done with the front. We can open it up like so, and then we put it aside and start working on the back. Next, we are going to fold the fabric as we did the previous time. Make sure that this time we leave excess fabric along the center back, because we are going to have a seam at the center back for the zipper. Secure the pattern using some pins. Next, use your chalk to trace the pattern all around. Next, remember we said we are going to measure from our waistline 18 inches down, draw a straight line along the 18 inches, which will mark as our bottom line of our dress. Next, we are going to join. We are going to make the back seam allowance and join it to the waist using a chalk and a ruler like so. We can join this part to the hip line like so. Along the side, we are going to measure in 1.5 inches and then use a curved ruler to join the part to the hip line like so. Bottom is done. Along the center base, that's where we are going to attach a zipper. So we measure 0.75 inches like so. Transfer the dart onto the fabric using pins as we did on the front. Next, we are going to cut off the dress using our pair of scissors. Next, we're also going to transfer the dart onto the other side of the back by using pins like so. The back is done. Next, we are going to get the lining, which is a polycotton, and we are going to use these patterns to cut the lining as they are. Now, this is the lining and this is the front of the dress. This is part of the dress at the back, and this is the lining for the back. Next, we cut around the sleeve using a pair of scissors. Next, we are going to make a notch at the crease line of the sleeve like so. This notch will indicate the top of the shoulder or the crease line. This is the lining of our sleeve. Next, we are done cutting the sleeve pattern of our dress. Next, we are going to get the front piece of our dress and we're going to measure the bottom. In my case, it is 11 inches. We're going to take that 11 inches and multiply it by 4 because there are 4 pieces. This is one side of the front, the other side, and we also have one part of the back and also the other side. 11 multiplied by 4, and that will give us 44. That will be the circumference of the bottom of our dress. Now, because the circumference of our dress is 44, we are going to multiply 44 by 2 in order to get the strip that we are going to attach at the bottom of the dress to make the mermaid dress. Remember, We said we're making a mermaid dress, and at the bottom we're going to attach a fabric that has been gathered. The dress from the waist down to the bottom, it was 18 inches. We have to make sure that the dress, when it's done, it is 26 inches of length from the waist to the bottom. The strip that we're going to make is going to be 9 inches. If I measure the length of this strip, it is roughly 33 inches. So I'm going to cut 3 of these strips and then join them together to come up with the 88 inches that I'm looking for the dress. At the bottom of the dress, I want to make 2 tiers of the gathered fabric. This will be the first tier and it will be the longest. We said the width of this strips of fabric is 9 inches. To make the second tier, I will make the width of the strips to be 6 inches. These are the 3 strips of the second tier of gathered fabric that will be at the bottom of the dress. At the top of the dress, around the neckline, I want to attach a ruched fabric that is going to add some elegance at the top of the dress. So I need to cut other strips of fabric that we are going to attach at the top of the dress. For the top of the dress, we are going to measure the distance that is around the neckline of our dress, and in my case it is 9.5 inches. Let's just say 10 inches on purpose. If you multiply 10 inches by 4, we are going to get 40 inches. We have to multiply 40 by 2, and that will give us 80 inches. The width is going to be 7 inches and the strips are going to be 80 inches long. Earlier on, I had cut these 3 strips. They are 7 inches in width. And I'm also going to attach them one end to the other end to form one long strip. But then I've also decided to have 2 tiers of gathered fabric on the neck. This means now I'm supposed to use this main fabric to cut off another 3 strips that I'm going to use to make a second tier on this first strip. Now they are going to be shorter than these strips in terms of the width. These, we said they are 7 inches in width. So we are going to make these ones 4 inches in width. So I'm going to cut 3 strips of 4 inches in width. These are the 3 strips that are going to serve as a second tier for our neckline. We are going to join them, as I have said earlier, one end to the other to form one long strip. We are going to start sewing the dress. We will start by sewing the dots on the front and also sewing the dots at the back. We are also going to do the same for the lining, then we will come back. As you can see, this is the front. I have sewn the dots. This is the back. I have also sewn both the waist dart, and I've also joined the front and the back on the shoulders, as you can see. I've also done the same thing on the lining. I've also joined the front and the back on the shoulders, as you can see. Next, we are going to put the wrong side of the fabric to the wrong side of the lining, as you can see, and then we are going to sew together along the neckline. We are going to attach from the shoulders and sew together right up to the back. Sewn around the neck. I've used a seam allowance of 0.25 of an inch. I'm going to sew around the sides, making sure that I'm securing the lining to the main fabric, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, and as well as along the back, along the side, and also along the center back. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm sewing all around just to make sure that the lining is secured and attached to the main fabric. This is the front side. I have sewn the sides using a seam allowance of 0.25 inches. I've also done the same thing on the other side. I've also sewn around the armhole area and also on the back and also along the center back. I'm going to sew the side from the underarm to the bottom of the dress, and then do the same for the other side, securing the front to the back. I'm also going to sew on the center back like this up until I get to somewhere here and then I'm going to leave the rest of the opening to attach a zipper. I have sewn the back to the front, as you can see, using the seam allowance of 0.5 inches. I've also secured the other side. The back, I've also sewn the two sides of the back, and I left an opening for the zipper. Now I'm going to sew together the sleeve. This is the sleeve. I'm going to sew around using a seam allowance of 0.25 to secure the lining onto the main fabric. I'm going to sew at the end of the sleeve. Next, I will then sew on the sides of the sleeve using a seam allowance of 0.5 of an inch. I'm going to overlock the trace on the sides, also on the other side. Please note that around the neck, I left the fabric raw like this, as you can see. The reason is because I'm going to attach a peplum at the top. It will be a gathered fabric. The sides have also been overlocked. The back seams have been separated because we're going to attach a zipper at the top. Same thing applies to the sleeve. It has been sewn together and overlocked. Now we are ready to attach the sleeve onto the trace. I'm just going to show you how it is pinned. When pinning the sleeve onto the trace, make sure that the front is on the front side of the trace. This is my front marked with an F, and this is also the front of my trace. Next, you are going to make sure that the seam, the bottom seam of the sleeve, is attached on the underarm seam of the trace like this. And then you pin those together. And then next, you move on to the shoulder line on the trace. You are going to make sure that the notch is attached directly along the shoulder line like this. And then we put on a pin. Next, we are going to pin the sleeve all around. This is the sleeve. It has been pinned onto the trace. I'm going to do the same thing on the other sleeve, and then I'll go straight to the sewing machine and sew all around to attach the sleeve. Here is our trace. The sleeves have been attached, as you can see. We have overlocked it nicely to make sure that it has got a nice finishing. Same thing applies to the other arm. So we have to finish off the bottom. Remember, we said at the bottom that we are going to attach a gathered fabric, which is going to make our dress a mermaid dress. We are also going to attach another gathered fabric at the top to finish off our neckline. These are the strips of fabric that we cut off earlier. There are 3. We are going to join these 3 strips of fabric together to make a long line, and then we are going to gather this fabric. It's the one that we are going to attach at the bottom of the trace. We are also going to attach these 3 strips of fabric, one end to the other, as we will do on this one. And then we are also going to gather this fabric, and then we are going to attach these 2 together. We have sewn together the 3 strips to make one continuous strip of fabric that we are going to gather for the bottom of our trace. This is going to make the first tier of the bottom of our trace. We have also joined together the 3 strips that are shorter to make the second tier for the bottom of our trace. Next, we come to these strips. They were also 3, and I have joined them together to form one long strip that we are also going to gather in order to attach it at the neckline of our trace. We have also joined these 3 strips to make one continuous strip, which is shorter than this other one. And we are also going to gather these strips. They are gathered. We are going to sew them together like this, and they will make a 2-tier, and we are going to attach them at the top of our dress around the neckline. This is one of the strips that is going to be used for the bottom of the dress. I've overlocked the bottom, and I've also sewn it at the bottom up to the end. This is the top part that we are going to gather. If you want to know how to gather, this is how you can gather a fabric. You sew one straight line up to the end of the strip of the fabric. You make sure that you use the maximum tension on your sewing machine. Also, the stitch length, make sure that it's the longest stitch on that machine. In my case, I used a stitch length of 4. I'm going to hold one side of the thread. There is the other one on the other side, as you can see. And then I'm going to pull the thread and pull the fabric as I am doing now. I will keep doing this until the entire fabric has been gathered, and then I'm going to measure the bottom of the dress to make sure that I gather the fabric up to what the bottom of the dress is. In my case, the circumference of the bottom of my dress was 44 inches. This means I'm going to gather this long strip of fabric until it is 44 inches in length. This is the second strip of fabric that is going to serve as the second tier of the bottom of the dress. I've also done the same. I have overlocked the bottom part and I've also sewn it. As you can see, it is now complete at the bottom, and I've also made this line which is straight, which I'm going to use in order to gather the fabric. I've used the maximum tension and also a stitch length of 4. Now I'm going to gather these two fabrics and then I'm going to sew them together and come back to show you that. As you can see, the two strips that I've made, they are now fully gathered up to the length of the dress at the bottom. And now what is left is for me to sew around these two and sew them together. After doing that, I'm going to grab both the ends of the two strips like this and this other one, and I'm going to sew them together to close this opening. This is the peplum of the dress. I have sewn it together at the top. As you can see, this is the two tier that I was speaking about. I have also sewn together everything to close it into a circle like this. I'm going to attach this peplum onto the dress to complete the bottom part of the dress. I will start from the back and attach the back seam of the dress, making sure that it is opened like this, and then I attach it to the back of the peplum, as you can see it. Next, I'm going to pin it all around, and then I will take it straight to the machine to sew it, and then I'm going to show you how it looks. This is the bottom of the dress. It is now sewn together to make the peplum that I was speaking about. It is a two-tier. Now the only thing that is left is to finish off the top of the dress. As you can see, these are the two strips that I spoke about. They are two-tiered as they are at the bottom of the dress, and they have been gathered and also they've been sewn together, as you can see. Let me show you how I'm going to attach it to the top of the dress. This will be the outside and this will be the inside of the dress. The outside of the peplum is towards the inside of the dress. Now let me pin it together just to show you why I am doing it this way. I'm going to pin the peplum all around the top of the dress up to the other end, and thereafter when it is done and sewn together, this is how it is going to look. And then we are going to sew this part and then overlock it, make sure that it is neat. This is the dress, this is the bottom of the dress, and this is the top of the dress. I have sewn the peplum to the top of the dress, as you can see. And remember, at the top, especially around the front, remember to snip. Use a pair of scissors to make some small cuts. Make sure you do not cut through the sewing line. After sewing the peplum onto the dress, I have also sewn this small line, which is used to make sure that the peplum will sit and the dress will sit like this around the neckline. The only thing that is missing is to attach a zipper at the back. This is the dress. It is complete. The zipper has been attached. Let me go and wear my dress so you can see how it fits me. I want to thank you guys for watching the video up to the end. I do hope that you enjoyed learning how to make your own dress that is simple like this one. Tell us what you think about the video. Tell us where you think we could have improved on the dress. And remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, and also share it with your friends and family. Otherwise, see you next time, and may the good Lord bless you all, and bye-bye.